And are you considering Stephen Moran for Fed chair?
I hadn't thought of it too much. He's doing a great job. Just got approved. His vote was a very good one. The Fed should have done more. Too late. Powell is terrible. He's a terrible chair. I think it's just terrible. But despite that, we're powering through it. We have another record stock market today. We're very, very high levels, and we're at the highest levels. So we're setting records. Many, many days during my administration, we've set records, and we'll see what happens with 50,000. 50,000 is a pretty big number. Never come close. And we're not so far away from it. So that's because they see what's happening. Not so much what's happening exactly right now, but they see all the plants that are being built. They see the kind of investment that's going to be made. When you take $17 trillion, so Biden had $250 billion, okay? Or putting a simpler way, they had much less than $1 trillion, but they had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. I have $17 trillion for 8 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think they're looking at that and they're saying when those plants open, right now they're being built, a lot of them, and some are starting over the next year. It takes a while, but we're getting fast permits. And when those plants get built, I don't think there'll be anything like what we're going to experience yet.
Mr. President, if I can, on the top subject of free speech, Ted Cruz compared Brendan Carr to a mob boss, the way he's threatening television stations and saying it's absolutely dangerous for the government to determine which speech is okay and which is not. What's your reaction to Ted Cruz?
I think Brendan Carr is an incredible American patriot with courage. It used to be, I remember in the old days that networks would have to get licensed, relicensed, and it was always a big deal. They had to show honesty and integrity. When you have a network, again, I'll use the same numbers, whether it's 90 or 94 or 97, all different numbers, but when you have networks that give somebody 97% bad publicity or 94% bad publicity, I think that's dishonesty. And they're getting free airwaves, right? You know that, right? You get them for nothing. These airwaves, they make millions and millions of dollars. The news makes millions of dollars. ABC, your network. Your network wrote very badly about me, and they had to pay me $16 million.
So do you think you have a right, or that Brendan Carr has a right to take away the licenses?
I think Brendan Carr is a courageous person. I think Brendan Carr doesn't like to see the airwaves be used illegally and incorrectly and purposely horribly. Doesn't like to see a person that won the election in a landslide get 97% bad publicity before the election. It's amazing that I won the election with that, but here's what happened. The people have given your networks no credibility. They don't give them any credibility, John. If they did, they wouldn't vote for me. They wouldn't have voted for me. When you look at, you could also say the liberal media, the liberal left, when you look at these stories and papers, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about, I assume you're talking mostly about the networks, but they have a licensing procedure, and you can read it as well. They have to show honesty and integrity. And when they take a good, well, I think the people decide. That's why I'm president. When they take a great success, like you often do, and you make it into like it's a loser, or you put a negative spin on it, I don't think that's right. So I think Brendan Carr is a great American patriot. So I disagree with Ted Cruz on that.
Mr. President.
UN next week? You're going to the UN?
I'll be at the UN. I'll be making a speech, yes.
And are you meeting any other world leaders?
Many of them.
Who are you meeting, Mr. President?
Well, I'm meeting
Syria,
them. They're being
Zelensky.
set up.
What is your goal from attending that meeting? What do you hope to
World peace. Nobody's done a better job than I've done on world peace. Nobody's settled so many wars as I have. I've been here probably a little bit more than 8 months, and I've settled 7, and that doesn't include the destruction of a vast potential nuclear disaster in Iran, which we wiped out totally. As I say, obliterated. We obliterated it. It's been turned right with this beautiful plane right here. We just ordered some more of them, by the way. The B-2 bomber. Just ordered some more. The more updated version. Not that we needed that. we just need the plane because it was so flawless. These pilots flew 37 hours flawlessly. Not an engine problem, not a screw, not a bolt came loose. It was an amazing. Compare that to many years ago, Jimmy Carter, same country, with the helicopters and the problems and the prisoners and the hostages. And what a mess. You know, these planes flew 37 hours without a stop. They fueled up. We had 52 tankers fueling the planes along the way. It was an incredible, and every single bomb hit its mark. And then we fired 30 of them from submarines, from a submarine. What a job that was. And I don't even include that, but that stopped a war. That stopped maybe a catastrophic war.
Mr. President.
So, you know, so I think that nobody has ever done anywhere near that. Now, on top of that, we're working very hard to get Russia-Ukraine settled. We'll see what's going to happen there. I hope we're going to get it done. President Xi and I spoke to him about it, and I believe that he really would like to see it done also, and I think he's going to work with us to help.
What was your
Mr. President, on the UN.
What was your message to President Xi on the war in Ukraine? What are you asking?
Well, it's the same as his message to me. He would like to see it done. He would like to see it. I believe he would like to see it ended. Yes, I do believe.
Mr. President, these two wars that you were talking about, Gaza and Ukraine, are escalating at the same time. You're going to take the stage at the UN, back at the stage after these years. Do you plan to setting any kind of red lines for these two countries? And you said before you were frustrated with Putin. Yeah. Are you also frustrated with Netanyahu?
We have a long time to go before I get up and speak at the UN, because every day is a long time when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to Israel and the Middle East. So we have a long time to go, but you know a lot of my opinions, and remember this, you can't forget October 7th either. People are forgetting October 7th. They forget it too quickly. That was one of the worst days in world history. It was the most evil attack that I think you could really say babies were involved, little babies were involved, and having their heads chopped off and all of the things that took place. You can't forget that. I don't forget that. A lot of people do, but I don't. Yeah, please.
But how about when, just one more, Mr. President.
What goes into retaking Bagram? Does that require boots on the ground?
We'll see what happens with Bagram. We're talking to Afghanistan. It should have never been given up. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. There was no reason to give it up. I was leaving Afghanistan. I was leaving. I was the one that got it down to 5,000 soldiers, but we were going to keep Bagram, the air base. I said it yesterday, and we had an incredible trip, as you know, to UK, and I said it during the press conference. It's one of the most powerful runways ever built in terms of weight, length, and load, what it could take, and we just gave it up for nothing. We gave it up for nothing. There was no reason to give it up. We weren't going to leave Bagram. Joe Biden didn't know what he was doing. We had a man that didn't know what he was doing. We had a man, by the way, that didn't approve. If you take a look at what's happening in Congress, we had a man that signed everything with, almost everything with an auto pen, and he didn't tell the people from the auto pen, whoever was using it. The one man that used it predominantly said that Biden only spoke to him twice, and it was only about the weather. Okay, it was about nothing. So those pardons that he gave are illegal. He gave illegal pardons, and that includes the congressman that destroyed and deleted all the information from J6. They deleted everything because it turned out that they were wrong. It turned out that I offered 10,000 National Guard or soldiers, whatever they wanted, and you wouldn't have had a problem. And they turned it down. Nancy Pelosi turned it down, and the mayor of Washington, D.C. turned it down. They deleted everything, and they destroyed it, illegally destroyed it. And Biden gave them a pardon. And Biden gave a lot of other people pardons that, frankly, would be in jail if it wasn't for those pardons. But those pardons now are illegal, according to just about everybody.
What would you have to get?
On Letitia James, are you disappointed that the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia has not prosecuted Letitia James? Do you intend to fire him?
Well, we're going to see what happens. I am not following it very closely. It looks to me like she's very guilty of something, but I really don't know. I know that the U.S. Attorney from the Eastern District, or from that district in Virginia, that he was approved by two Democrat senators who, in my opinion, are among the worst, And when I learned that 2 senators, Democrats, because as you know, it's very hard with the blue slip, it's very hard for a Republican to get somebody approved if you have 1 senator that's a Democrat because of an old custom. It's not a law, it's a custom. It's a ridiculous custom. But if you have a Democrat senator, you have to get that senator approved. Well, in this case, we had 2. When I saw that he got 2 senators, 2 gentlemen that are bad news as far as I'm concerned, when I saw that he got approved by those 2 men, I said, pull it, because he can't be any good.
So you want him fired? You want him out?
Yeah, I want him out, yeah. When I learned that he was blue-slipped through by 2 Democrat senators in Virginia, people that would never vote for it, the people that haven't voted for us for probably years, okay, probably years. In my opinion, 2 bad guys. You know, they are Warner and Kane. 2 bad guys, bad senators, too. They do a terrible job for the people of Virginia. But when I saw that he got approved by these 2 terrible people that haven't voted, they just don't vote, no matter what it is. We could give them the greatest deal ever, and they still wouldn't vote. And they voted for this guy. And I have other people, judges, and I have U.S. attorneys from other states where I have the same situation, and they can't get approved. So when I learned that they voted for him, I said, I don't really want him. Okay.
Mr. President,
do you want to get?
have you seen the
Behind you, please.
Have you seen the polling, the Gallup poll out of Ukraine that shows 23%, less than a quarter of Ukrainians actually support continuing the war against Putin? We saw the European leaders come here and try to say the world is united for the war effort, but Ukrainians have war fatigue themselves.
Well,
have you seen the polling and your thoughts on it?
I don't blame them. It's a war that never should have started. It's a war that never would have happened. If I were president, that war never would have happened, ever. That's a disgrace that that war happened. And they're losing anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 people a week on that war, which is the worst since the Second World War. That's a war that should have never happened.
And if you consider
Would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. When I was here, it didn't happen. Go ahead.
Have you considered cutting funding, even promises made by the Biden administration?
Well, we're not spending any money on the war. You know, we're being paid for everything we said. Unlike Biden, he gave them $350 billion. And it was shocking. We're not spending any money on the war. The war is being funded by NATO. NATO is buying our equipment. In fact, I don't want to make money on that war. I don't want to, but we are actually making money on that war because they're buying our equipment, as you know. But NATO, as you know, very important, is funding the entire thing. They're paying for the missiles, for the tanks. They're paying for anything that's sent over there. It goes to NATO, and then NATO does what they want with it. In this case, I guess they give it to Ukraine. It's a very sad war. It's a war that never should have happened.
Mr. President,
Going back to TikTok, could you tell me, is the U.S. government going to take a board seat in the company, and will the U.S. government get a board seat within the company?
Well, we're going to announce that. Are you talking about TikTok?
Yes,
Yeah,
TikTok.
we're going to announce it. But it's a great deal for our country. It's a great deal for all of the young people in the country that wanted it, and people generally. I was happy with it. Look, I wasn't a fan of TikTok, and then I got to use it, and I became a fan, and it helped me win the election in a landslide. So I think that it's a deal that's going to be great. And it's also controlled by very powerful and very substantial American people. All American, by the way, all American people.
Mr. President,
Go ahead,
Mr.
please.
President, a question from Newsmax. Last year, before you took office, there was an estimated 6.8 million men not actively seeking work of prime working age. So if you and Secretary Lutnick could talk about the efforts your administration is taking to help our American gentlemen get back to work.
Yeah, well, what we're doing is they're building plants all over the United States, and frankly, because of tariffs, we're taking in trillions of dollars. And countries that have ripped us off for years, and everyone knows this, countries that have ripped us off for years, like nobody's ever been ripped off before, they're now having to pay up. They're paying a lot of money to America, and we're reducing taxes with that money, and we're doing things that we were never able to do before. So it's you're going to have a lot of jobs. The jobs are being created right now, and the tariffs are protecting our country. And we didn't use, tariffs were used against us, but we didn't use them against others. But we're really better at it than anybody else. And we will have taken in trillions of dollars. Nobody's ever seen anything. Even people that were against the tariffs, now they see the way they're working. And by the way, with no inflation, with no problem, we're just building up cash, and we're using that cash to reduce taxes, reduce debt, and other things. It's a great thing to watch. And your honest reporters are saying they've never seen anything like what's happening. Our country is becoming very rich again only because of tariffs. If we didn't have it, if I didn't get elected, this country would be, it was a dead country. Look, we were a dead country a year ago, and now we're the most successful, most vibrant country anywhere in the world.
Mr. President.
Healthcare.
Good to see you. You look good on television.
Thank you, sir. I tried. Tonight, in a few minutes, Steve Bannon will appear on my show.
Good.
He floats the idea that you should dual hat Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, not only as Treasury Secretary, but as interim Fed chair. Would you be willing to entertain that?
In other words, you like Scott.
Yes, sir, very much.
So do I. And I like Steve, too.
Would you like to see that in dual
Well,
hatted
it's
as
certainly
Fed
an
chair?
interest. We could save a little bit of salary. I think I could maybe make a deal where we just give him one salary. You know, I have a couple of them.
I don't think you need.
I have Marco. No, I don't think so. And we have Marco's got about 3 positions, right? He's doing great also. No, I don't think that's going to be necessary. Actually, I went to Scott and I talked to him about that position, and he loves what he's doing right now. So, you know, he's not in the mix because he loves being Secretary of the Treasury.
Quick follow-up. Today is the first day of early voting in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Are you planning on campaigning for Winsome Sears, John Reed, or Jason Mayaris?
Well, I'm going to have to look at some of them. As you know, it's sort of a semi-local election. I've been watching it. I've been seeing the ads.
I would appreciate it as a Virginia voter. Just
Who do you like of the group? Who do you like?
The whole ticket, sir.
All of them? You like them?
them,
All right.
yes, sir.
Well, I'll take a very strong look.
Appreciate
Okay.
that.
For you, I'm going to look.
Mr. President,
Secretary Kennedy's panel on vaccine changed its broad recommendations on COVID-19 vaccines today. Are you comfortable with that change, or would you like to see Americans take the vaccines that were developed under your tenure?
Yeah. Well, the vaccines, according to a lot of people, and if you look at George said, have had a tremendous, Operation Warp Speed. It was, just according to just about everybody, was one of the greatest things that any president has ever done in this country. So we're very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. I'm also very proud of Regeneron and some of the things that came out of, all of the labs and all of the research that we've done. So I don't know exactly what the final determination is, but I had the vaccine. I was very happy with it. Here I am, right? Here I am.
Have you had it again recently?
Bobby Kennedy seems to be undoing what you did with Operation Warp
I put him
Speed.
in there because I want to have opposite views. That's okay. I think we're going to have something very, very big coming up soon on autism. Autism is totally out of control. And one of the most important things that, in my opinion, I had to do is to see what's going on with autism. And we're going to have a news conference early next week on autism. And I think you're going to see some things that are amazing that we've learned that somebody else wouldn't have learned. It's out of control, autism, out of control. And I think we maybe have the reason why.
But is Bobby Kennedy going too far in unwinding the
Well, I don't know.
vaccines? and
He's saying for
bad
older
things about
people.
your vaccine?
Yeah, he's saying for older people. A lot of people agree with that. And but I can tell you this: Operation Warp Speed, one of the greatest things a president has ever done for this country. And you can say the world, because when we came up with that vaccine, the whole world opened up. But I put Bobby there as somebody that will go either way. I want the facts, but I also look at facts from Pfizer, where they spent a lot of money, and the other drug companies, they spent a lot of money on finding out the results after the fact. And the results were amazingly good.
Mr. President, after your conversation.
I'm wondering if you've seen the video put out by former Israeli hostages. It's addressed to you. One is a widow of one that died, and these are people who were freed thanks to you. But they're actually encouraging you to force a ceasefire, force Netanyahu to a ceasefire, and they didn't address it to him because they think you're the one who might actually listen to them and get it done. They're worried that the hostages who are still there are more at risk if the war continues. Your thoughts on it?
They might be. They also maybe they'll be freed because of that. You know, you never know how it's going to look. War, I was saying, yes, war, a lot of strange things happen. A lot of results take place that you would never think were going to happen. As you know, I was able to get most of the hostages out. We're down to 20, and we have 32 dead people. You know that. We have 32, maybe more, 38, but between 32 and 38 people that were dead, mostly young people. And I've dealt with some of the parents. And we got all our Americans out, as you know, but now we're talking about mostly Israelis. But I dealt with parents, I spoke to parents, and they want the body of their son, I believe in almost all cases sons, but they want the body of their cherished, beautiful son. They want the body back as much as though he were alive. It's so sad to see. But I've dealt with the mothers and fathers. Please, sir, please, the body of my son. They know he's dead, and they just want him back. They want him back as much as though he's alive. I mean, it's very terrible, and you know we have very close to 40 bodies that are included in the whole thing. But we have 20, probably 20 that are living. It might be a little bit less because a couple of things. Look, young people don't die, okay? They just don't die. And they can take a lot, but a lot of people died in these horrible tunnels. They're mostly in the tunnels. I know a lot about it. I got them out. But I always said the last 20, when you get down to the last 10 or 20, it's going to be very tough. It's a nasty situation. You can't forget October 7th. But it's a nasty situation, terrible.
Mr. President, on Gaza, the UN concluded this week that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't seen that. I'm looking at it, but did anybody commit genocide on October 7th? What do you think about that? That was genocide at the highest level. That was murder, genocide, you can call it whatever you want, but little babies were chopped in half.
And in Gaza?
Arms were cut off people, heads were cut off people. That's genocide. That's genocide also, I guess. Right?
What do you think?
Mr. President, a question on your Memphis
Getting a
deployment.
fee from that deal, what is that fee
Well,
going to be? in the U.S.
it hasn't been
government?
fully negotiated, but we'll get something from the standpoint that we worked hard. We put up a lot. We spent a lot of money on letting this come and letting this, you know, it's a very, very big deal. It's a very powerful deal. And the United States really, I see it. I mean, people were saying, save TikTok, save TikTok. So many people. It's a big thing. And, you know, China can be very proud that they were able to get that started. And so I very much appreciate President Xi's working with us on that. Very much.
Antifa, what comes next after designating Antifa a terrorist
Well, we have others that
organization?
we're going to designate too, but we're going to look at the people that funded Antifa, see who they are, where they came from, and why they did. Have you seen Portland at all? Have you taken a look what's happening in Portland? It's, I mean, this has been going on for years. It's just people out of control. They're crazy. We're going to stop that very soon. We have to get rid of a couple of other problems first. We're going to get rid of the problems in Memphis where you can't even walk a block without getting shot. We're going to get rid of the problems in Chicago. Chicago's a great city, and we have to save it. We have to save it. I told you I had the head of the Union Pacific Railroad in my office, and I said, so what do you think? You go to every city. You have railroads in you are the biggest railroad, beautiful railroad. He's a great guy. I said, what do you think? He said, sir, save Chicago. Don't let it go down. Save it. The way he said it was so meaningful to me. It was so like terrible. In a way, it was terrible. Save Chicago. You know, who would ever think that we'd be sitting here talking about saving Chicago? Chicago's a great city. They have a terrible mayor. Terrible. He's at like 5% approval rating. He's an incompetent person. They have an incompetent governor, in my opinion. He's incompetent. 11 people get shot, and he says crime isn't a good shot. I mean, they're losing 4, 5, 6 people a week, getting killed by bullets, by knives. And then he says how wonderful it is, Chicago. So, well, it might be wonderful for him. I think they're afraid. Look, he's not a stupid guy. I really believe they're afraid to say, politically, I guess, from an ideology standpoint, from a democratic standpoint, he is afraid to say the fact that they have a very unsafe, very dangerous city. He should say, I'm going to call President Donald Trump, and I'm going to ask him to send in the troops, to send in the National Guard and clean this hellhole up. Because Chicago can be a great city again. I'll tell you what, Washington, D.C. is a great place again. It's booming, and the restaurants are booming. And 6 months ago, 7 months ago, nobody could go outside. And even just walking around the White House, people here are thanking me for what I've done. They're thanking me. They're saying thank you. And I almost know what they mean, because they can walk to work. And even when they took Uber and they took other forms of transportation, they felt unsafe because the car was hijacked while they're in there. They take a car, and it's being hijacked as they get into the car. And they did that for safety. And now we have a safe place. You know, we've taken 1,500 people out of career criminals have been taken out of Washington, D.C. And we weren't very nice about it.
Do you know? What do you think?
I did discuss it, and I don't want to make a comment on it, but Union Pacific is a great railroad, and they want to add a railroad that had a mistake at a place very close to my heart. You know, a lot of people say that that was a place where I got off to a very good start. It was a rough thing that happened. Well, they're trying to buy that railroad that had the problem, and it sounds good to me, to be honest with you. Sounds good to me. I'm a very big fan of the head of the railroad, the head of the Union Pacific. He started as a very low on the totem pole, started his job very low and became the chairman of the company over a 45-year period. But I asked him about different cities. He said, St. Louis is tough. You know, he sort of stops at many of them.
Mr. President, when is
New Orleans. We have to save New Orleans.
New York.
Mr. President, when are you going to get details?
We're going to be going into New York, too. Yeah.
Mr. President,
and we're going to be going in quiet. You're really obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm trying to ask you, what about your plans
You are
for
really
Memphis?
obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I am asking, what are your plans for Memphis? Many people want
I'm
to
not going to talk to you until I call on you.
What are your plans for
So,
Memphis?
who
Mr.
else?
President?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to settle this free speech question, because you've said that you restored free speech in America.
Yeah.
Is that free speech including for people who are harshly critical of you, for your political opponents, for people who say things you don't like?
I've become immune to
treat
it.
you unfairly?
I've become immune to it. There's never been a person that's had more unfair publicity than me, and that's why your network paid me $15 million, or $16 million, I believe, to be exact, George Slopadopoulos. And that's why CBS paid me a lot of money, too. And that's why I sued the New York Times 2 days ago for a lot of money. Because I'm winning. I mean, I'm winning the cases. And the reason I'm winning is because you're guilty, John. You're guilty. ABC is a terrible network, a very unfair network, and you should be ashamed of yourself. NBC is equally bad. I don't know who's worse. I think they're equally bad. And, you know, for you to stand there and act so innocent and ask me a question like that. But look, you paid a big price because you were dishonest, John. The reason I won that lawsuit was because you were dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. And so you can't sit back and just say, oh, well, what do you think? You know, like you're some wonderful person. You're not a wonderful person. Frankly, you're a terrible reporter. You know it, and so do I. Okay.
Mr. President, can you talk about
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about something that's going to reduce our taxes greatly, that's going to hopefully bring some great people into our country. You know, as you know, right now nobody's coming in because we've succeeded in closing. We've closed the border very successfully. I think you will agree. We had nobody come in for the last few months. I mean, it was actually said zero. Even I can't believe zero, but the numbers are put out by very impartial people or people that have a tendency to be on the left. And they actually said for the last 3 months, nobody came in. We have a very strong border. It's a closed border. People are coming into our country, but they're coming in legally. It's a beautiful thing to watch. But we are doing something where rather than coming into the border, 25 million people came into our country during Biden, one of the saddest things, the worst thing, look, he was horrible in inflation. He was horrible in just about everything you could be. I don't think he was good on, he wasn't even fair on anything. It was a horrible administration. He was the worst president in the history of our country, and we have to mop it up. The hardest thing that we have to do is to get rid of the criminals that he allowed into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers, and we're getting them out, and we're getting them out fast, and we're making America safe again. Great again, but we're making America safe again, and it's an honor to do it. But this is something, this is an unforced error. What they've done is this is just an unforced error. So I'm going to ask Howard to speak. Howard's done a fantastic job, as you know, Secretary of Commerce. And I'm going to ask Howard and Will, could you just give a quick description of what we're doing and what we're signing, et cetera? And
yes, sir.
I will do that. So
we have 2 items for your attention today, sir. A major focus of your administration has been shifting the conversation and shifting the policy dynamics around the issue of immigration, closing the border, preventing illegal immigration, but also, as is the case with the executive order in front of you, opening new pathways for truly extraordinary people to come contribute to America instead of taking away from it. So this executive order is entitled the Gold Card. It will set up a new pathway, a new visa pathway for foreigners of extraordinary ability who are committed to supporting the United States for a payment of $1 million to the U.S. Treasury, or if a corporation is sponsoring them, $2 million by that corporation, and that will give them access to expedited visa treatment as part of this new Gold Card program.
And one of the biggest problems we have is that people, they go to the best schools and they do great and they get great marks, and then they're thrown out of the country. You're not allowed to stay. This way, a corporation will be able, sort of like a signing bonus in baseball or football, a corporation will be able to get them to stay in the country. And I think it's going to be tremendously successful. Howard, would you say a few words about it, please?
Sure. So historically, the employment-based green card program let in 281,000 people a year. And those people, on average, earned $66,000 a year on average, and they were 5 times more likely to go on assistance programs of the government. So we were taking in the bottom quartile, below the average American. It was illogical. The only country in the world that was taking in the bottom quartile. So what we are doing now is we are going to stop doing that. We're going to only take extraordinary people at the very top. Instead of people trying to take the jobs from Americans, they're going to create businesses and create jobs for Americans. And this program will raise more than $100 billion for the Treasury of the United States of America.
Which we'll use for cutting taxes and paying down debt. We think it's going to be very successful. Essentially, we're having people come in, people that in many cases, I guess, are very successful or whatever, and they're coming in, they're going to spend a lot of money to come in, they're going to pay as opposed to walking over the borders, and they may come from jails, prisons, and everything else. These people don't. They're very productive people. And they're going to pay $1 million. The corporation is going to pay $2 million. And it's going to raise billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars, which is going to go to reduce taxes, pay off debt, and other good things. So I think it's going to be very successful.
Are the big techs on board with this, Mr. President?
What?
The big techs, are the big techs on board with this decision? You just
what's going to, well, I wish you'd speak more clearly. I really do. Give it to me again.
Are the big techs, the CEOs, on board with this decision?
Big techs?
Big techs.
Technology.
You talk to them about
companies.
this?
Yeah, big tech. Yeah, it's big tech. It's every company. It's big tech. It's big tech. It's big everything. Okay?
The CEOs
It's a
will be
company.
here to
I said
have
it's not a
dinner.
tech company. It's tech companies and everything else. It's companies having a hard time getting people to be able to stay in the country. It's very difficult. Now, if you want to walk through the border, you can have no problem. People say, well, the best way to come in is walk right through the border. But they can't do that anymore because under our administration, the border is totally closed. You can only come in if you come in legally. And that's the way it's been, and that's the way it should be. And we're taking a lot of people out of the country that are here from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions and even insane asylums, people that are crazy. We're taking them out of the country. We're getting them out of the country because you can't have a country like that. And I tell you, Christie and Tom Holman and all of the people that have worked so hard on this, they've done an unbelievable job. And I think we're getting great marks for it. People feel safe. Washington, D.C. is just the beginning. We brought the numbers down in Chicago a little bit by having the FBI in there for the last 5 months. We brought the numbers down in Memphis a little bit, but now we're going for the big one. Now we're going to go for the big one. But we set ourselves up very well in Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans a little bit, going in early just to see what was happening. We study it. We're studying the site. It's sort of like war. I mean, I hate to tell you, it's like war. Some of these people are really bad. They're really, really sick people. They're dangerous people. They're killers. They're murderers, drug dealers, and you can't have it. You can't have a country like that. It's so beautiful to see in Washington, D.C., that people are walking down the middle of the street and they're going to restaurants, and you are too. And half of you were mugged. I mean, I don't know if she's here now. I don't see her, but some people were badly mugged that were reporters. 2 of the people right standing in the back of the room were mugged, and not going to have that anymore. And if you look at the crime stats in Washington, D.C., you have a safe place again. They were afraid to go to a restaurant because the restaurant would be held up while they're having dinner. And so they'd be mugged going there, and assuming they escaped the mugging, they go to the restaurant and then they're held up. This is how bad it's been. Yeah?
To follow up on the visa question, I think this may be the next thing that you're signing, but for the H-1B visa action that you're doing
It's
today,
going to be next. We'll talk about that.
You're very close to the technology CEOs. Are they concerned about that?
I think they're going to be very happy. Everyone's going to be happy. And we're going to be able to keep people in our country that are going to be very productive people. And in many cases, these companies are going to pay a lot of money for that. And they're very happy about it. Okay, we'll talk about that next, Sarah. Okay. My friend, why don't you keep that, okay?
Thank you.
Done such a good job. Okay. It's phase 1. John, are you happy? Sure. Okay, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most abused visa systems in our current immigration system has been the H-1B non-immigrant visa program. This is supposed to allow highly skilled laborers who work in fields that Americans don't work in to come into the United States of America. What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H-1B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it'll protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States to work.
We need workers. We need workers. We need great workers. And this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen. I think, Sean, do you agree with that?
Well, they're 100.
All right, we've been listening there to President Trump taking questions from reporters in the Oval Office, and a lot of headlines coming out of there in just the last few minutes. Among them, you saw he plans to is rolling out some sort of a Trump gold card, which would cost people who want to immigrate into the United States $1 million. Companies can pay $2 million. He also talked about sending the National Guard into more cities. That would include Memphis, he says, as well as potentially New Orleans. And he also talked about how he believes that the press in America, the networks, treat him very unfairly. He believes that roughly 90 to 95% of the coverage at the network news level is unfair to him. He then went on and paid tribute to Charlie Kirk, as you know, the Republican who was assassinated in Utah more than a week ago, and then went on to talk about the need to be briefed on what happened in Estonia today, saying that it could be big trouble. Let's talk about that coming up with NBC's Courtney Cui, though. But first, we want to go to NBC's Yamiche Alcindor, who is right there at the White House. And Yamiche, a lot of headlines there. So what stood out to you in this already about 40-minute conversation from the president?
Yeah, well, Tom, the president has been talking for a while, and as you said, he's made a number of headlines. One of them is that the government could shut down, which of course could impact hundreds of thousands of Americans. He's saying essentially that Republicans don't have the votes they think in the Senate to keep the government functioning. So that would be a big deal if the government were to shut down. The president also talked, as you said, about free speech issues. He said that networks who are negative to him after he won the popular vote in the 2024 election are illegal. He talked about the FCC chair, in particular, Brendan Carr, saying that he's a patriot, someone who's being very courageous. He was asked specifically about criticism that he's getting from other Republicans. We're hearing from Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, as well as Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina. They've been critical of the president's move, saying essentially that him trying to force out people like Jimmy Kimmel, of course, the comedian whose show has been suspended indefinitely by ABC News, that is problematic and that it's essentially viewed as against the Constitution of the United States. But the president doubled down, saying that he believes that he can go after licenses of networks that he believes are treating him unfairly. The other thing to note is the TikTok deal. I know a lot of Americans, millions and millions of Americans are on that application. The president stopping short of saying that there's a final deal, but he said that they're well on their way to having a deal there. So that's also something that people are watching there, Tom.
Okay, Yamiche, thank you. Let's go to Courtney Cubie because, as you heard there, the situation in Estonia is potentially very serious indeed. That country is accusing Russia of invading its airspace with fighter jets, something notable here because, of course, Estonia is a NATO country. Allegedly, this lasted for 12 minutes with Russian fighter jets in Estonian airspace, in NATO airspace. I've talked to military experts, and I've heard from them in the United States and the UK. They say this was no accident. This was clearly intentional. What are you hearing from the Pentagon?
And that's most likely, that assessment is based on the 12 minutes that you just mentioned. That is a long period of time for something like this to happen. Look, this isn't the first time that Russian aircraft have violated Estonian airspace, even this year, but 12 minutes is a long time for it to happen. In fact, it was to the point where NATO, who has essentially an air policing mission in the region, responded and escorted those jets out. First, they were escorted by Finland's fighter jets and then Italian fighter jets, F-35s, that were part of this mission called Baltic Sentry. Now, this also comes only 10 days after Russian drones also violated another NATO ally. In this case, it was Poland. In both cases, both Estonia today and Poland last week, they have requested an Article 4 meeting with other NATO countries. And we hear a lot about Article 5. Article 4 is a little less known. It's essentially a formal consultation between all the NATO allies where they discuss something that has happened and see if there's something that else needs to be done besides the statements that have come out and then, of course, the jets being escorted by the other NATO jets.
Yeah, and Article 5 says an attack on one is an attack on all. So I'm just wondering, is this all about testing NATO's resolve? And let's keep in mind that 10 years ago, Turkey shot down a Russian fighter jet in Turkish airspace. It was only in that airspace a short time. And Turkey is also a NATO member.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there are a lot of questions about what happened here. Now, with the drones, there has been Russia has said that it was an accident, that they were meant for Ukraine. They weren't intended to ever go into Poland. But it was about 24 drones. That is a large number of drones to all have some sort of an accident like that.
And most analysts don't think it was an accident.
And there hasn't been any formal assessment. The Polish government has said pretty clearly they don't believe it was an accident. This is appearing more and more like Russia is testing NATO to see how they respond. In both cases, they have scrambled jets. In the case of Poland, they shot several of the drones down, the ones that didn't basically just crash on their own. But this does appear that Russia is testing and moving the goalpost more and more with each one of these incursions to see exactly what happens. Also very notable, and this will really resonate with you, Tom, these Russian MiGs, these fighter jets that violated the Estonian airspace today, they did not file a flight plan, their transponders were off, and they were not responding to radio communications. That's another thing that has people really talking about just the very safety of these flights today.
So we'll see how this resonates with NATO and specifically with the man right there on the screen, whether President Trump, who said today this could be big trouble, what that means and whether the United States would back any formal NATO response or be more forward-leaning in the future. Courtney, thank you. We have a lot of news, and if you don't mind, I also want to get quickly to the other major story of the day, and that is this growing show of support for late-night host Jimmy Kimmel after ABC Disney suspended him over his comments about Charlie Kirk's accused assassin. And now the president again suggesting any broadcaster that criticizes him could have their licenses revoked. Protests remarks are planned tonight and into the weekend, with some stars calling for a Disney boycott over the decision to pull Kimmel off the air. Today, former late-night host Conan O'Brien weighed in, writing, "The suspension of Jimmy Kimmel and the promise to silence other late-night hosts for criticizing the administration should disturb anyone on the right, the left, and the center." Others are sharing similar sentiments last night, or they're mocking the Trump administration.
Hey, is there any chance?
Is blatant censorship, and it always starts small.
To be honest with you all, I don't know what's going on, and no one does. But I do know Jimmy Kimmel, and he's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back.
From Comedy Central, it's the all-new government-approved Daily Show with your patriotically obedient host, Jon Stewart.
Well, you heard the president in just the last few minutes defending FCC Chair Brendan Carr, who had threatened to take action over Kimmel's remarks earlier this week. And it may not stop with Kimmel. Carr is saying the FCC is not done yet. NBC's Liz Kreutz is out in Burbank, California.
Well, hey, Tom, for a second day in a row now, supporters of Jimmy Kimmel have gathered outside Disney's headquarters here in L.A., calling for the company to put him back on the air. Many of these protesters are now boycotting Disney. They say they've canceled Disney Plus and Hulu, and they feel like the Disney company caved to political pressure from the Trump administration. Now, we haven't heard from the Disney company or ABC. They have not explained their reasoning for suspending him or said when or if he might be back on the air. But we are now getting some comments from the former CEO of Disney, Michael Eisner. He put out a statement saying that the FCC's aggressive yet hollow threatening of the Disney company is yet another example of out-of-control intimidation. And he said, by the way, for the record, this ex-CEO finds Jimmy Kimmel very talented and funny. Again, we have not heard from Jimmy Kimmel since his suspension, and still no word from Disney tonight about the future of his show. Tom.
Okay, developing story there. Liz Kreutz, thank you. In just the last few hours, a key CDC advisory committee made a big decision on this year's COVID shots. That committee now recommending limiting vaccine shots only to people 65 and older, or those who have underlying medical conditions, and they are advising people under 65 to consult with their doctor. The committee is made up of all new members who were handpicked by HHS Secretary RFK Jr., a vaccine skeptic, as you know, after he fired all of its former members a few months ago. And as we have reported, this newly appointed panel also voted to change the MMRV vaccine recommendations for kids, a vaccine combo that has been standard for decades. NBC's Aaron Gilchrist is at the CDC headquarters in Atlanta. Aaron, there seems to be a lot of confusion within this panel and what they're deciding. So walk us through what we learned today. How did they decide, and how is this guidance changing from previous recommendations?
Well, let's start there, Tom, with the previous recommendation. As it relates to COVID-19, the guidance that currently is in place is that anybody 6 months old or older should get a COVID-19 vaccination. That's the guidance from the CDC at this point. The conversation today, after several hours of presentations that offered information about the efficacy and effectiveness of the COVID vaccines right now, and also offered some information about studies that are out there that indicate that there are problems with the COVID vaccines. After all those hours of debate, the vote came down to 4 questions, one of which was about the immunization schedule for COVID-19. And ultimately, this panel decided that they would recommend that the schedule should be one that says that vaccination should be based on individual decision making, meaning that doctors and patients should, let me back up, meaning that people who provide these vaccinations, whether it's a doctor or a pharmacist, should have conversation about whether that person, that individual, should be vaccinated. And that is a change, obviously, from the guidance that said everybody should get vaccinated if you're 6 months or older. And so now the CDC director gets to decide whether to sign off on this decision from this advisory panel. There was some confusion, as you noted, about some of the voting language at different points during the last 2 days of conversation about a couple of different vaccines. I want you to hear what what one of the agencies that sort of monitors and typically would participate in the conversation. This is from someone from the Academy of Pediatrics reacting to this conversation, the debates that happened here over the last couple of days. Listen.
Wow. I think I've gone to pretty much every ACIP meeting in the last 10 years, and I have never seen anything like that. Today, like yesterday, we witnessed this committee continue to present false and deliberately misleading claims, intentionally packaging those claims in a way to make them sound new, make them sound surprising, make them sound plausible. And all of that was a clearly orchestrated effort to sow mistrust and fear in immunizations.
Now, ultimately, the organization that Dr. O'Leary represents did not participate as one of the liaison organizations. There were several others that were a part of the conversations that happened here today. I'll note, too, Tom, that one of the other votes that happened today was on the question of recommending that states and local jurisdictions require prescriptions for people to get vaccinated for COVID-19. Ultimately, that question failed. So that is not going to be something that comes to fruition or is considered by the CDC director, at least based on the recommendations here today. And part of the conversation there was about creating barriers to access by requiring people who may not have the level of access to doctors that would be necessary to get a prescription for COVID-19 vaccinations. Tom?
Okay, so the bottom line, check with your doctor. Aaron Gilchrist, thank you very much. In less than an hour, a vigil is set to kick off to honor Charlie Kirk on the campus of Utah Valley University. And that's where the conservative activist was assassinated just over a week ago. Thousands are gathering there to pay their respects at what they're calling the Vigil for Unity. And it comes ahead of a memorial service Sunday at the home stadium of the NFL's Arizona Cardinals. Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, President Trump, and Vice President Vance are all scheduled to speak. The White House has already released a tribute video to Kirk.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country.
The Department of Homeland Security is designating Kirk's memorial service a high-level security event. That's just a step below what's used for events like the Super Bowl or the inauguration. NBC's Jay Gray is right now in Glendale, Arizona for us. And Jay, with this level of security and this many people, are there concerns that this is potentially a target?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom, and let's go forward with that. A bulletin sent to law enforcement from multiple federal agencies, including the FBI, including the Secret Service, says that they are, and I'm quoting that bulletin now, tracking several threats of unknown credibility targeting people who may be attending Sunday's memorial here. As you talked about, the president, the vice president will be here along with several members of his administration, and they're expected to join a crowd of more than 100,000. In fact, organizers now saying that the stadium behind us here where it will be held is not big enough for that crowd. They're going to use an arena nearby and may need a third event hall to house all of the people expected to be here. The security team on the ground, Tom, it is going to be a show of force. Not only local and state police, but federal agents, again, from across several agencies, will be on the ground. The Department of Homeland Security, as you talked about, taking this very seriously, has a strong plan in place. And today, we have seen teams starting to unload some of the barricades that are going up. We've seen some of the roadways starting to be closed down or traffic diverted. So this is going to be an event that they will be watching very closely, Tom.
Okay, Jay Gray in Arizona, thank you. We are getting word tonight about delays affecting flights heading into Dallas's two main airports. The FAA slowing flights into DFW and Dallas Love Field because of a local telephone company's equipment outage. Let's bring in CNBC's Phil LeBeau. Phil, you've been working the phone since I've been sitting here on set. What have you learned?
Things are starting to improve gradually in the Dallas area, both at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport as well as at Love Field. It was a ground stop for a while, Tom, as they were trying to figure out how quickly they could reestablish communication and then allow planes both to take off as well as to land. Now it is a ground delay. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, it's fairly substantial within the last couple of hours. The delays total more than 800 between the two airports, cancellations about 173. given the fact, Tom, that these are two very busy airports, DFW, probably the third or fourth busiest, or second or third busiest in this country, that number of cancellations could have been far higher, especially as you approach late afternoon rush hour, if you will, that bank of flights. But at this point, they are slowly bringing the flights back online. And we should point out, this is not an FAA equipment issue. It had to do with the local telephone company. That said, anytime you have these kind of issues, Tom, it always brings back the question, how robust and how redundant is the system for air traffic control? In this case, they are getting flights back to normal as they sort out the situation there in Dallas.
Yeah, so the bottom line here, and this sounds in some ways similar to some of the problems at Newark, right, where they were having a telecom feed that wasn't good, and as a result, they had spotty radio and radar.
Exactly.
Is that what's happened there? They've got spotty radar because of a local telecom issue?
That's our understanding, but I can't say that definitively, Tom. In other words, they're still trying to assess exactly what the situation was there. The good news is that they have now enough communication that they've gone from a ground stop to a ground delay.
And it's thankfully one of the slower weeks of the year. Phil LeBeau on aviation, thank you very much. Students at Texas A&M are saying their final goodbyes today to the university's president on his last day as he steps down over how he handled some classroom controversy related to gender ideology. The issue began boiling over after a video shared by a Texas state rep went viral last week, which allegedly shows a student clashing with a university lecturer. The student told the lecturer that she was breaking the law by showing coursework which recognized more than two genders in a child's literature or children's literature class.
I just have a question because I'm not entirely sure this is legal to be teaching because according to our president, there's only two genders.
I'm not convinced that your proposal will be effective in stopping me from teaching things that are biologically true.
Well, the issue got national attention with other Republican politicians, including Texas Governor Greg Abbott, weighing in and accusing the lecturer of indoctrinating students in gender ideology. The university quickly fired the lecturer, raising some criticism, including from that lecturer herself, that this really amounts to a threat to academic freedom. The controversy, really the latest clash over academic freedom and politics that has been playing out across the country over the last few months. NBC's Priscilla Thompson is joining us now from Texas A&M University. And Priscilla, Texas A&M, one of the biggest public universities in the country. It really speaks to this broader battle that is happening at universities nationwide as the president threatens to cut billions in federal funding.
Yeah, Tom, and Texas A&M is a self-proclaimed conservative university, as they like to call themselves. But I spoke to the Texas GOP rep, Brian Harrison, who actually posted this video initially, and he said exactly what you were alluding to there in the intro, that he is putting everyone on notice, every public university on notice, that these are the consequences when he sees and Republicans see what they call liberal indoctrination. But I will also say the mood on campus today, as President Welsh left his office earlier today, there were students out there seeking to honor and celebrate him. Everyone that we have talked to on campus today has talked about what he meant to this community. And I want to read a little bit of his statement as he announced his resignation, saying, "When I was first appointed as president of Texas A&M University, I told then Chancellor John Sharp and our Board of Regents that I would serve as well as I possibly could until it was time for someone else to take over. Over the past few days, it's become clear that now is that time." But I will tell you, students on campus say that they have gone through several presidents over the past several years and that they felt like Welsh was the president for them and that this is being blown out of proportion. I want to play some of what the student body president had to say earlier today about honoring Welsh. Take a listen.
The objective of our gathering out here is to honor what he did for the university and the students that he engaged and impacted while he was here.
And so the chancellor has said that the Board of Regents is going to appoint an interim president in the coming days, and that they are then going to conduct a nationwide search to figure out who the next president of this university will be. But certainly Republicans in the state who have been putting pressure on the president to resign, that Texas GOP member, but also the governor, the lieutenant governor, hailing this as a victory today. Tom?
Priscilla, I'm just wondering, and granted, I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C., a long way away, but it sounds as if the university doesn't want a difference of opinions, or at least won't entertain different opinions as it relates to gender issues.
Yeah, and, some of this has been happening in the state legislature within Texas. And we should point out, even though that student said it is illegal to talk about this in classrooms, it is not actually, in fact, illegal to have those conversations in classrooms on universities. And I also want to provide a bit of context that they had been reading a children's book that was about a child that was coming out as non-binary. And so that was the context of the conversation in the classroom. And also that this happened over the summer. And that is why so many Republicans put pressure on the president to resign, because they felt that teacher should have been fired immediately, and he only decided to fire her in September. Tom?
Okay. Priscilla Thompson, thank you very much. That's a wrap for this hour. More news right now on News Now. Top of the hour on News Now, and we come on the air with very serious developments concerning Russia. NATO is accusing it of violating a NATO member's airspace. 3 Russian fighter jets were intercepted by NATO fighters after flying over Estonia. NATO and the EU accuse Russia of testing NATO's defenses as Russia's war in Ukraine shows no sign of cooling. We are also watching the growing fallout over Disney's suspension of Jimmy Kimmel, the protests set to kick off tonight, and the big question of which broadcaster or comic could be next, as the Trump FCC says it isn't done yet. Then the brand new details on the potential mega media merger that could shake up how we watch a lot of TV, plus what the FAA is now saying about airlines, telling them what they should do after a series of emergencies this year. And is the song of the summer becoming a relic of the past? What is the song of the summer? That's coming up later in the newscast. Good day. I'm Tom Costello, and I am in for Hallie on this Friday, and we come on the air as NATO is weighing how to respond to Russia after accusing the Kremlin of flying Russian fighter jets into Estonia for roughly 12 minutes, Estonian airspace. Now, Estonia calls Russia's actions unprecedentedly brazen. It is a major development because Estonia, which sits on Russia's border, is, in fact, a NATO member. And any attack on a NATO member is considered an attack on all of NATO, including the United States. To be clear, no shots were fired today. Estonia's foreign minister now accuses Russia, though, of testing boundaries, and this could be a major escalation. It was just a week ago that Poland shot down Russian drones that violated its airspace during an attack on Ukraine. And it comes as tensions on the world stage appear elevated as Mr. Trump holds a rare phone call with China's President Xi. Mr. Trump says he and Xi will meet in South Korea next week, and he says he will go to China next year. Mr. Trump was, in fact, the last president to go to China back in 2017. As for the action in Estonia, Russia's foreign ministry did not immediately respond to NBC News' request for comment. We have team coverage on this. NBC's Yamiche Alcindor standing by with the latest from the White House. But we want to start with NBC's Courtney Cubie, who covers the Pentagon. Courtney, something notable here is that the fighter jets were already in Estonia's airspace for 12 whole minutes here, and NATO jets were, in fact, scrambled. But this comes, as we said, just a week after what we saw in Poland with what most experts say was a pretty deliberate attempt to fly drones into Poland, and it would seem a pretty deliberate action today.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, NATO jets, these are Finnish jets, were actually escorting it or scrambled to see these Russian MiGs when they got close to the border with Estonia, but they were really over the Gulf of Finland at that time. As soon as they crossed into Estonia, that was when some of the NATO, essentially air policing mission aircraft, these Italian F-35s in this case, they intercepted these jets. But the real key here is this is not the first time that Russian jets have violated Estonian airspace, even this year. But 12 minutes is a very long time, and it fights the argument that this was some sort of a mistake, that they erroneously crossed the border. Maybe they didn't know what they were doing. And another thing that fights that argument president, is the fact that their transponders were off, their radios were off, they were not communicating back and forth with other air traffic control. They did not notify of a flight plan. So it really makes this seem, especially in the wake of what happened with those drones into Poland last week, really makes it seem as if Russia is trying to test some boundaries here with NATO.
Well, in fact, I've heard from both UK and US defense experts today saying they think that this is a test, that Russia is testing NATO's resolve and what it would really take for the tripwire to be activated, for our US fighter jets or NATO fighter jets to engage a Russian fighter jet.
Yeah, and keep in mind, they shot down several of these Russian drones, but a fighter jet obviously would be a much bigger escalation.
Turkey did it 10 years ago.
Turkey has done it. It wouldn't be unprecedented. That being said, so how has NATO responded so far? In both cases, Estonia and Poland called for an Article 4 consultation. That's essentially all the NATO members get together. They have these formal consultations about what to potentially do. After the drones into Poland, NATO decided to basically start another arm of this Baltic Sentry, the air policing mission. It's called Eastern Sentry. Right now it's focused on Poland, but they may even move further, and that would be additional air defense systems. And when you're talking about air defense systems, especially along the border, that opens up exactly what you're talking about, the possibility of these aircraft being shot down if they violate these airspaces. But at this point, we still don't know what's going to come out of the Article 4. It does appear more and more with these incursions that Russia is testing the limits. So how has NATO responded? Article 4 and with scrambling jets so far. We'll see how far it goes beyond that.
And I've heard several experts say, listen, they're losing in Ukraine, so this is kind of a diversionary effort to see how far we can push NATO.
And Estonia is a very critical person when it comes to Ukraine. I know that in sheer number of what they've provided to Ukraine, it's dwarfed by bigger countries like the United States, the UK, France, others. But when you look at what they've given their GDP, I mean, they have almost gone to zero on some of their systems. They have been a huge contributor to helping Ukraine fight off Russia.
Courtney Kube, nobody does it better. Thank you very much. Courtney Kube from the Pentagon there. And let's bring in now Yamiche Alcindor, who's posted up by the White House. Yamiche, Estonia is getting a lot of verbal support from the EU. What else is the White House saying?
Well, President Trump just took a question on this in the Oval Office. He said he was going to be briefed on it, but he said, I don't love it. It could be big trouble. So that's the president essentially already signaling that this is not a good development to see Russians sort of testing the system in this way. We also know that the president has been getting more pointed in his criticism of Russia, at one point saying that he might even institute and impose sanctions on Russia, though he said that NATO countries need to stop buying Russian oil in order to do that. That being said, we have been hearing from other political leaders. I want to read to you a statement that President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, put out. He said, these are not accidents. This is a systemic Russian campaign directed against Europe, against NATO, and against the West. We also heard from NATO spokesperson saying earlier today, Russian jets violated Estonian airspace. NATO responded immediately and intercepted the Russian aircraft. And here's the big part. This is yet another example of reckless Russian behavior and NATO's ability to respond. So really, they're making it clear there, Tom, that they are not worried about this and that they will, in some ways, well, that they are concerned about this, but that they're in some ways not worried about their ability to defend themselves, because they say that they were able to scramble those jets and get this in order in some ways. Tom.
Yeah, thank you that's good reporting. Thank you. Let's also talk about the other big development out of the White House on TikTok. The president stopping short of saying that he and his Chinese counterpart were finally able to kind of come up with a deal here, but they've not yet signed on the dotted line.
That's right. It's interesting because the president, after this call with the Chinese president, said that they had agreed on a sort of approval for the TikTok deal. That was the language that President Trump was using. So everyone thought there's a deal that's actually being approved. But then Chinese officials did not back that up. Instead, they said that this was essentially, they were good, that these are good, productive negotiations, but that things still need to be worked out here. It's also interesting to see that ByteDance, which of course is the owner of TikTok, they're trying to see that they want to work out something that they're calling TikTok US. So we're seeing these developments at least move in the direction of a final deal.
Yamiche, thank you very much. Important information there. All right, we have more breaking news coming into us right now out of Sacramento. Police there say the ABC building has been hit by gunfire. Nobody injured, but there you can see bullet holes in the glass just coming in the last few minutes. We can also tell you that, in fact, this is coming just after the Jimmy Kimmel decision to release Jimmy Kimmel, or at least suspend him from his evening show. Let's go out to our NBC's Andrew Blankstein, one of our investigative producers who's joining us now on the phone. Andrew, nobody knows this better than you. What's happening in that area?
Good afternoon, Tom. Well, at this point, just after 1:30 today, officers respond to reports of shots fired in the 400 block of Broadway in Sacramento, where the ABC affiliate is located. They observed the building had been hit by gunfire, no injuries. And at this point, at least, and this is very preliminary at this point, they can't say for sure whether this was targeted or random. But given the timing that you just referred to, that's going to be part of the investigation. As far as any additional resources or agencies, not responding at the moment, but if there's changes in that, look to see if that broadens this investigation. And again, if it would be in any way related to Jimmy Kimmel.
And you could imagine the motivations, if it is related to Jimmy Kimmel, it could be directed at ABC for at least suspending the show, or it could be directed at ABC and Kimmel because of what Kimmel said.
Well, and that's right. It could be, at this point, it's so preliminary that they don't even have a suspect description. Obviously, they're going to be canvassing and looking for any cameras, if there's anything in and around that location, but also the city, to try to track down, get a license plate or a witness. And at this point, this is the thing. The timing is pretty glaring, but when I asked them directly if they thought it was related, they said just too early to say anything about that. It's going to be part of their investigation.
Okay, Andy, thank you. Again, no injuries there in Sacramento. We will stay on top of that story. We were just talking about Jimmy Kimmel, in fact, and tonight there is a growing show of support for that late-night host after Disney suspended him over his comments about Charlie Kirk's accused assassin. And now the president is suggesting that any broadcaster that criticizes him, the president, could have their licenses revoked. Protests are planned tonight and into the weekend, with some stars now calling for a Disney boycott over the decision to pull Kimmel off the air. Today, former late-night host Conan O'Brien weighed in, writing the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel and the promise to silence other late-night hosts for criticizing the administration should disturb everyone on the right, the left, and the center. Others are sharing similar sentiments last night or mocking the Trump administration.
That is blatant censorship, and it always starts small.
To be honest with you all, I don't know what's going on, and no one does. But I do know Jimmy Kimmel, and he's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back.
From Comedy Central, it's the all-new government-approved Daily Show. With your patriotically obedient host, Jon Stewart.
Well, you heard the president in just the last 30, 40 minutes defending FCC Chair Brendan Carr, who had threatened to take action over Kimmel's remarks earlier in the week. And it may not stop with Kimmel, because Carr is saying the FCC is not done yet. NBC's Liz Kreutz has more.
Well, hey, Tom, for a second day in a row now, supporters of Jimmy Kimmel have gathered outside Disney's headquarters here in L.A., calling for the company to put him back on the air. Many of these protesters are now boycotting Disney. They say they've canceled Disney Plus and Hulu, and they feel like the Disney company caved to political pressure from the Trump administration. Now, we haven't heard from the Disney company or ABC. They have not explained their reasoning for suspending him or said when or if he might be back on the air. But we are now getting some comments from the former CEO of Disney, Michael Eisner. He put out a statement saying that the FCC's aggressive yet hollow threatening of the Disney company is yet another example of out-of-control intimidation. And he said, by the way, for the record, this ex-CEO finds Jimmy Kimmel very talented and funny. Again, we have not heard from Jimmy Kimmel since his suspension, and still no word from Disney tonight about the future of his show. Tom.
Okay, Liz Kreutz, thank you very much. In just the last few hours, a key CDC advisory committee made a very big decision on this year's COVID shots. The committee is recommending limiting those shots only to people 65 or over and those who have underlying medical conditions. They're advising people under 65 to consult with their doctors. The committee is made up of all new members, as you know. They were handpicked by HHS Secretary RFK Jr. himself a vaccine skeptic after he fired all of its former members a few months ago. And as we have reported, this newly appointed panel also voted to change the MMRV vaccine recommendations for kids, a vaccine combo that has been standard for decades. As you know, NBC's Aaron Gilchrist has been posted at CDC headquarters for a couple of days. And Aaron, there seems to be just a lot of confusion within the ranks of this panel. They're a brand new panel, but they were asking questions about what exactly they're voting on and how do they move forward and what's the process. And that's leading to even more confusion among all of us on the outside.
Right. There were a lot of people coming into this meeting who said, why does this even need to be a conversation? The vaccines that were being talked about here are all vaccines that have been established, and you include the COVID-19 vaccine as well in that group of vaccines that was a part of the conversation today. And the vote that we ended up seeing tonight on the COVID-19 vaccine that is currently recommended for everyone 6 months old and older was really not a drastic change. The new guidance that's being recommended to the CDC for this particular vaccine is that people get vaccinated based on individual decision making, as opposed to that blanket grouping. They say that people should have conversations with their provider about whether they should get the vaccine, about the risks that are involved with it, what groups are at higher risk for different potential side effects and things of that nature. That really is what drove the recommendation from this committee today to the CDC director. But as you noted, there was a lot of confusion about language, about what sort of impacts it would have on who pays for different types of vaccines, whether it would be paid for by insurance, whether the government programs that pay for vaccines for children would still make those payments. I want you to hear some of the reaction that we got from the American Academy of Pediatrics to some of the confusing back and forth that we heard over the course of the last 2 days. Listen.
What we're seeing is what happens when individuals who don't have a basic understanding about how vaccines are delivered are making these crucial policy decisions for the American public. They don't know what they're doing.
And Tom, one of the other things that came up in the conversation was the hepatitis B vaccine. There was supposed to be a vote on that this morning, whether it should continue to be recommended for babies at birth or if that should be changed. Ultimately, that conversation was tabled. One of the doctors on the panel who made the motion to table it said it should be tabled indefinitely until they can get more information and more clarity about the language for what exactly it is that they would be recommending, Tom.
You know, Aaron, that soundbite you ran is so poignant because that's a doctor with the American Academy of Pediatrics saying that this vaccine committee doesn't know what it's doing. His words. I think that leaves a lot of parents wondering, okay, well, then what am I supposed to do? Right? If the vaccine committee doesn't know what they're doing, again, that's the view of that pediatrician. What am I supposed to do for my kids? Where am I supposed to go for good information?
Yeah, I mean, the answer has always been that you should have that conversation with your medical provider, right? If it's your doctor or a nurse or a PA, whoever you go to, when it comes to the COVID vaccine that a lot of people go to pharmacies to get, this new recommendation would be that people talk to their pharmacists in a more in-depth way about getting the vaccination. One of the big concerns coming into this meeting was if there are dramatic changes that would limit people's access because government programs would not necessarily pay for vaccines. And so as it stands right now with the COVID-19 vaccine, it is still something that will be paid for through government programs. When it comes to the MMRV vaccine, even though the recommendation now is that people not get that for kids younger than 4 years old, it is still something that's available. The separate vaccine, the one for MMR and for chickenpox separately, those are still covered by government insurance programs. And the association that represents insurance companies has said that they're going to continue to cover everything. They're not making any changes to the way they cover these vaccines, certainly at least through the end of next year, Tom.
That's a very good point you just made, and important. Aaron Gilchrist, thank you very much. Stay with us because later in this hour, NBC's Erica Edwards will be going deeper, in fact, on this controversy, looking at, in fact, whether there is any sort of a link between autism and vaccines. That's coming up later in the newscast. In the last few minutes, a vigil kicking off to honor Charlie Kirk on the campus of Utah Valley University. That's where the conservative activist was assassinated just more than a week ago. And that's right there, coming up, a live look. There we go, where thousands are gathering to pay the respects of what they're calling the Vigil for Unity. It comes ahead of a memorial service Sunday at the home stadium of the NFL's Arizona Cardinals. Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, President Trump, and Vice President Vance all scheduled to speak. The White House has already released a tribute video to Kirk.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country.
The Department of Homeland Security is designating Kirk's memorial service as a high-level security event, just a step below events like the Super Bowl or the inauguration. NBC's Jay Gray is in Glendale, Arizona. Jay, with this level of security and this many people, are there concerns that this is potentially a target?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom, and let's go forward with that. A bulletin sent to law enforcement from multiple federal agencies, including the FBI, including the Secret Service, says that they are, and I'm quoting that bulletin now, tracking several threats of unknown credibility targeting people who may be attending Sunday's memorial here. As you talked about, the president, the vice president will be here along with several members of his administration, and they're expected to join a crowd of more than 100,000. In fact, organizers now saying that the stadium behind us here where it will be held is not big enough for that crowd. They're going to use an arena nearby and may need a third event hall to house all of the people expected to be here. The security team on the ground, Tom, it is going to be a show of force. Not only local and state police, but federal agents, again, from across several agencies, will be on the ground. The Department of Homeland Security, as you talked about, taking this very seriously, has a strong plan in place. And today, we have seen teams starting to unload some of the barricades that are going up. We've seen some of the roadways starting to be closed down or traffic diverted. So this is going to be an event that they will be watching very closely, Tom.
Okay, Jay Gray in Arizona, thank you. In another corner of the media world, we are getting new details about a massive potential deal that could see two of the world's largest media companies combine into an absolute behemoth. CNBC is reporting that Paramount Skydance may be considering buying Warner Brothers Discovery for, listen to this, upwards of $22 per share. That's a lot more than where that stock is currently trading right now, about $19 a share. And if you're wondering, hey, how can a smaller company buy one more than twice its size? Doesn't this need approval from the FCC and the DOJ? Well, Paramount Skydance itself is a merger that just finalized a month ago. It's led by David Ellison, the son of Oracle CEO Larry Ellison, who is the second richest person on the planet right now and a very close ally of President Trump's. And Ellison may be putting down billions of dollars in cash for this acquisition. The potential deal raises serious questions about the impact it could have on the media landscape. So who better to break all of this down than NBC's Brian Chung?
Yeah, well, hey there, Tom. There are still these rumors of a coupling up between Paramount Skydance, just fresh off of a merger that they made, again, between Paramount and Skydance just a few weeks ago, and then also Warner Brothers Discovery. So this is what that combined company would look like. If it wasn't already confusing enough about where to stream your favorite shows or where to get your news, take a look at this. So on the Paramount Skydance side, you have CBS, MTV, Paramount Pictures. You also have Nickelodeon. And then on the Warner Brothers Discovery side, you have HBO, CNN, Discovery, Cartoon Network. So you would have Batman on the DC Comics side in the same house as SpongeBob from Nickelodeon, which again rolls up to Skydance Paramount. Now, when it comes to news, this is also an interesting story because you would have CBS on the Paramount Skydance side coupling up with CNN. This would be a cable network and a traditional over-the-top network that would now be merged into the same place. Again, this is all rumored. It depends on how all of these discussions valuations shake out between David Ellison, who again is the son of Larry Ellison, and also David Zaslav over on the Warner Brothers Discovery side. But if this does happen, this would be a monumental merger between these two companies. Although I do want to point out that the combined company would still be dwarfed by the likes of Netflix. When you take a look at market cap, even a combined Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Brothers Discovery company would only be roughly about $68 billion in market cap based off of the valuations today. Compare that to Netflix, which is $519 billion. And then also consider that there are these other big tech companies that are also in the streaming media space, like Apple and Amazon, which, to be fair, with a lot more different types of businesses, are worth in the trillions of dollars. So this is the media landscape that we're looking at here, as we also consider Disney about $200 billion in market cap, as well as Comcast, the parent company of our company, NBC, at about $117 billion. So again, this is very much a part of the rapidly changing media landscape. As the world turns, you could say, as the media world turns, all of this changing very fast, Tom.
Yeah, you need a fast-changing bingo card. Brian Chung, thanks very much. We are getting word at this hour about delays affecting flights heading into Dallas's two main airports. The FAA slowing flights into DFW and Dallas Love Field because of a local telephone company's equipment outage. CNBC's Phil LeBeau joining us now. Phil, you've been working the phone since I've been sitting here on set. What have you learned?
Things are starting to improve gradually in the Dallas area, both at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport as well as at Love Field. It was a ground stop for a while, Tom, as they were trying to figure out how quickly they could reestablish communication and then allow planes both to take off as well as to land. Now it is a ground delay. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, it's fairly substantial within the last couple of hours. The delays total more than 800 between the two airports, cancellations about 173. Given the fact, Tom, that these are two very busy airports, DFW, probably the third or fourth busiest or second or third busiest in this country, that number of cancellations could have been far higher, especially as you approach late afternoon rush hour, if you will, that bank of flights. But at this point, they are slowly bringing the flights back online. And we should point out, this is not an FAA equipment issue. It had to do with the local telephone company. That said, anytime you have these kind of issues, Tom, it always brings back the question, how robust and how redundant is the system for air traffic control? In this case, they are getting flights back to normal as they sort out the situation there in Dallas.
Yeah, so the bottom line here, and this sounds in some ways similar to some of the problems at Newark, right, where they were having a telecom feed that wasn't good, and as a result, they had spotty radio and radar.
Exactly.
Is that what's happened there? They've got spotty radar because of a local telecom issue.
That's our understanding, but I can't say that definitively, Tom. In other words, they're still trying to assess exactly what the situation was there. The good news is that they have now enough communication that they've gone from a ground stop to a ground delay.
And it's thankfully one of the slower weeks of the year. Phil LeBeau on aviation, thank you very much. We are keeping an eye on the weather in the west, I should say, with the potential for flooding in parts of California, and no surprise, yet again, New Mexico. And to the east, the National Hurricane Center says Tropical Storm Gabrielle is expected to gradually gain strength over the next couple of days and become a hurricane. NBC's Bill Cairns is joining us now. Bill, what risks are you keeping an eye on? You've got the weather map for the west, so we're starting out west, right?
Yeah, that's where the biggest concerns are. If we get flash flooding for it damage to property, possibly lives. Yesterday, there's still a 3-year-old boy missing from mudslide in California. So that was, yesterday was pretty dramatic with some of the debris flows and mudslides. And this used to be a tropical system. It was Mario. It fell apart before it got to the west. But all of this moisture over the mountains and the desert areas, that's always a bad news recipe for a lot of thunderstorms and for, possibly at least dangerous to deadly flash flooding. So we do have a flash flood watch that's in effect for areas of central California. We haven't seen anything too problematic there yet. We do have a couple flash flood warnings, one south of Phoenix, a couple here on the border there of New Mexico and Arizona. Ruidoso yesterday had another flash flood. They've had 4 so far this year alone because of the big fire they had last year. The mountain is bare above the town. So, anytime it pours there, they have huge issues. I'm watching areas north of the Grand Canyon. We have numerous thunderstorms thunderstorms. If you've been following the west and the big fire that we had there in the north shore, the north side of the Grand Canyon, numerous thunderstorms in this area. So we'll have to watch out and make sure we don't get any debris flows there either. So, Tom, that's what's going on as far as the, flash flood threat. Of course, you also mentioned what's going on with Gabrielle. This is a weak, unorganized system. It hasn't really strengthened yet, but we expect that to change this weekend. The good news is that this is going to be like a lot of our storms so far this season. It's going to take that big hook. We call this a fish storm. It's only going to affect boating, shipping lanes, and that's about it. Bermuda, you'll get some large waves out of it, but it even looks like it's going to miss you. It should become a pretty powerful storm, possibly a low-end Category 3, high-end Category 2. All of our spaghetti lines here, our computer models, take it well away from any land areas. This is a good reminder of where we sit right now. Going into this season, Tom, remember, there was a lot of hype saying this is, 85% chance of an above normal hurricane season, only a 5% chance of below normal. They were saying that we could have, 5 to 9 hurricanes. We've only had 1 hurricane so far, and we're already past the halfway mark. So, so far we're trending well below what we were expecting. Obviously, there's still another 6 weeks left of the peak season, so we'll wait and see. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but so far, so good.
I hope you didn't just jinx it.
I know.
Because I've got a lot of family in Florida, buddy, but we're going to watch it closely. Bill Cairns, thanks very much. Coming up from us, the growing controversy in the classroom, why the president of a major university is stepping down over a viral video. Plus, Taylor Swift is returning to the big screen. When and where that's going to happen. Students at Texas A&M are saying their final goodbyes today to the university's president on his last day as he steps down over how he handled some classroom controversy related to gender ideology. The issue began boiling over after a video shared by a Texas state rep went viral last week, which allegedly shows a student clashing with a university lecturer. The student told the lecturer that she was breaking the law by showing coursework which recognized more than 2 genders in children's literature.
I just have a question because I'm not entirely sure this is legal to be teaching because according to our president, there's only 2 genders.
I'm not convinced that your proposal will be effective in stopping me from teaching things that are biologically true.
Well, the issue got national attention with other Republican politicians, including Texas Governor Greg Abbott, weighing in, accusing the lecturer of indoctrinating students in gender ideology. The university quickly fired that lecturer, raising some criticism, including from that lecturer herself, that this all amounts to a threat to academic freedom. The controversy really is the latest clash over academic freedom and politics that has been playing out across the country over the last few months. NBC's Priscilla Thompson is joining us now from Texas A&M's campus. Priscilla, Texas A&M, one of the biggest public universities in the country. It really speaks to this broader battle that is happening at universities nationwide as the president threatens to cut billions in federal funding.
Yeah, Tom, and Texas A&M is a self-proclaimed conservative university, as they like to call themselves. But I spoke to the Texas GOP rep Brian Harrison, who actually posted this video initially, and he said exactly what you were alluding to there in the intro, that he is putting everyone on notice, every public university on notice, that these are the consequences when he sees and Republicans see what they call liberal indoctrination. But I will also say the mood on campus today, as President Welsh left his office earlier today, there were students out there seeking to honor and celebrate him. Everyone that we have talked to on campus today has talked about what he meant to this community. And I want to read a little bit of his statement as he announced his resignation, saying, "When I was first appointed as president of Texas A&M University, I told then Chancellor John Sharp and our Board of Regents that I would serve as well as I possibly could until it was time for someone else to take over. Over the past few days, it's become clear that now is that time." But I will tell you, students on campus say that they have gone through several presidents over the past several years and that they felt like Welsh was the president for them and that this is being blown out of proportion. I want to play some of what the student body president had to say earlier today about honoring Welsh. Take a listen.
The objective of our gathering out here is to honor what he did for the university and the students that he engaged and impacted while he was here.
And so the chancellor has said that the Board of Regents is going to appoint an interim president in the coming days, and that they are then going to conduct a nationwide search to figure out who the next president of this university will be. But certainly Republicans in the state who have been putting pressure on the president to resign, that Texas GOP member, but also the governor, the lieutenant governor, hailing this as a victory today. Tom?
Priscilla, I'm just wondering, and granted, I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C., a long way away, but it sounds as if the university doesn't want a difference of opinions, or at least won't entertain different opinions as it relates to gender issues.
Yeah, and, some of this has been happening in the state legislature within Texas. And we should point out, even though that student said it is illegal to talk about this in classrooms, it is not actually, in fact, illegal to have those conversations in classrooms on universities. And I also want to provide a bit of context that they had been reading a children's book that was about a child that was coming out as non-binary. And so that was the context of the conversation in the classroom. And also that this happened over the summer. And that is why so many Republicans put pressure on the president to resign, because they felt that teacher should have been fired immediately, and he only decided to fire her in September. Tom?
Okay. Priscilla Thompson, thank you very much. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about on this Friday. Number 1, songwriter Brett James has died in a plane crash in North Carolina, that according to local law enforcement. He's the Grammy-winning writer behind Carrie Underwood's Jesus Take the Wheel and other country and pop hits. 2 other people also died in that crash, which left no survivors. Police say the photos from that scene reveal the plane was registered under James's name. The NTSB is investigating. Number 2, a federal judge today dismissed President Trump's $15 billion lawsuit, defamation lawsuit, against the New York Times. The judge criticized the lawsuit, which calls the Times a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, for including too much praise of the president and superfluous allegations. The judge will allow the president to refile a shorter civil complaint within the next month. Number 3, French President Emmanuel Macron visited Notre Dame today as the bell towers prepare to reopen tomorrow. Visits to that monument and the masses picked up back in December, but it's the first time the towers are open to the public after the fire back in 2019. Since then, more than 2,000 artisans have helped renovate the cathedral. I got to tell you, I was there in December after it opened. It is truly magnificent. Number 4, take a look at this. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano spewing lava back into the sky again. The volcano on Hawaii's Big Island is one of the most active in the world, erupting more than 30 times since December. Number 5, Taylor Swift's new music video is coming soon to a theater near you. The singer says showings of her song, The Fate of Ophelia, will premiere in AMC theaters around the world from October 3rd to the 5th. It's about a 90-minute screening, we're told, complete with behind-the-scenes footage, explanations of what inspired the music, and lyric videos from her upcoming album, The Life of a Showgirl. Tickets already on sale. You got them, Bert? He's got them. When we come back, it's not just packages. What investigators say one man is stealing from porches in California. Plus, authorities in Maine spent 5 hours rescuing a moose from a well. So we're going to show you the video coming up. We're back, and the FAA is ordering an airline safety review, telling airlines to review their evacuation procedures and announcements after a series of emergencies this year in which passengers were slow to get out, in some cases grabbing their carry-on bags first. Despite clear instructions from flight attendants, many reached for their backpacks, their laptops, their coats, their shoes, delaying their own evacuation and everyone behind them on the plane, when seconds can mean the difference between life and death. July 26th, panicked passengers slid down the evacuation chutes as smoke and flames poured from the brakes on their plane in Denver.
Somebody screamed, "Fire, burn!"
Yet many passengers came down the slides with their carry-on bags. March 13th in Denver. Passengers escaped onto the wings after an emergency landing and an engine fire. April 21st in Orlando.
We're calling the fire truck right now. We'll do that. Thank you very much.
The right side engine on a fully loaded Delta Airlines flight began spewing flames moments after pushing back from the gate.
Please take your time going down the stairs.
The emergency evacuation slowed since passengers could only leave from the left side of the plane.
And then on top of that, you still had passengers who were trying to take their luggage with them.
While everyone on board survived, slower evacuations have troubled the FAA. Under FAA rules, the entire plane must be evacuated, everybody off in 90 seconds, even with half the exits blocked.
Grabbing your bag could cost someone their life.
Now the FAA is issuing a safety alert, instructing airlines to reevaluate emergency evacuation procedures, flight crew training, announcements, and commands to passengers.
We can't have somebody at the front of the line grabbing their overhead bags and keeping people in the back of the airplane from being able to safely evacuate.
Everything, drop it. Come on.
In Toronto, Delta flight attendants received high praise for last February's crash landing and evacuation. One challenge, the 90-second rule is 60 years old. Today, planes usually fly full, often with passengers who are elderly or have mobility issues.
The only thing you need to do is save your life and the life of everyone else on board. Listen to the flight attendant instructions and leave your bags behind.
Yeah, 5 years ago, an Inspector General report found that the FAA had not conducted sufficient research on passenger behaviors like evacuations with carry-on bags, the presence of emotional support animals, and the new seat dimensions. The FAA tells us it is now conducting a new study on improving emergency evacuation times, taking all of that into account. Well, NBC News covers hundreds of stories each day, and you know it's pretty tough to read, watch, or listen to everything. So our bureau teams have selected some highlights. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions, and we call this the local. Out of our Western Bureau, police have found two unlikely joyriders in an SUV in Alaska. Officers got a call about a persistent honking, only to find the culprits were a pair of bears. They said the animals may have been looking for food when they locked themselves in the car. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and the bears were sent on their way. Another from our Western Bureau, a serial porch pirate stealing more than just packages from one Bay Area neighborhood. Neighbors call him the plant bandit, and they say he's stolen several potted plants from their yards. He's been caught on cam grabbing greenery multiple times before slipping away, and the community is now keeping watch, hoping to catch him in action. And in our Northeast Bureau, a bull moose had to be rescued from an abandoned well in Maine. He's a big guy. Local authorities worked to tranquilize the moose before lifting it out with an excavator. After the 5-hour-long rescue, wildlife experts say the moose was able to head back into the woods on his own. Well, for years coming up, there's been an ongoing heated debate over what's causing autism to spike in the United States. We're going to look at where the latest research stands. We're coming back. To our original now, in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And earlier we talked about that key CDC advisory committee hearing on vaccines coming while there's surging levels of vaccine hesitancy among parents. So much of the controversy goes back to a theory that has been debunked several times over the last couple of decades of a link between vaccines and autism. Experts have repeatedly said there is no link. NBC News is now reporting we can expect that much anticipated report on autism from the HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will come before the end of the month. So, heading into the release, what do we know about the causes of autism? And where does the current research stand? NBC's Erica Edwards has that story.
A fixation on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches was one of the first signs that 3-year-old Tori Ridgway might be wired differently.
A lot of pepper.
Opting to eat and play alone, separate from his preschool classmates.
Everything would be going on around him, but he would be off to the side.
Tori wasn't picking up on social cues like how to have a conversation.
When he came home, we would say, "How was your day? How was your day?" And he would say, "How was your day?"
A diagnosis of autism threw Tori's parents, Vanessa and Troy, into crisis.
And I knew nothing. I didn't feel like I could successfully mother this child. I didn't know how to help him.
As his father, what can I do to fix it?
Autism was a devastating name or word back then. Parents would be thinking that their child would maybe have to go live in a residential institution.
That was almost 20 years ago. The disorder long misunderstood. Look at Rain Man from the 1980s.
I like having you for my brother. I'm an excellent driver.
For decades, one of the only representations of autism in the mainstream. A lot has changed since then. Dr. Roy Grinker, an anthropology professor at George Washington University, has spent 3 decades studying autism around the world as the medical community searched for its cause, hitting a slew of dead ends.
And some of them are absurd. Pasteurized milk, television, iPod batteries.
None of those research shows have any ties to autism. But what the current research does show is genetics playing a major role. Hundreds of genes identified so far. And there's some evidence of other factors as well, such as advanced parental age, extreme prematurity, or oxygen deprivation to the baby's brain at birth. Despite progress in understanding the mysteries of autism, one unfounded claim remains pervasive: the role of vaccines. The MMR vaccine has been used successfully since its FDA approval in the 60s, but one study in the 90s suggested a link to autism. The research was deeply flawed and later retracted and dismissed by major medical groups.
Vaccines don't cause autism.
But the damage was done. Voices like actress Jenny McCarthy, who claimed vaccines triggered her son's autism, amplified the myth. We reached out to McCarthy and did not immediately hear back. She often says she doesn't oppose vaccines, but want parents to do their own research. The phrase becoming a rallying cry as vaccine hesitancy spread through the country way before COVID-19. Now an NBC News investigation showing vaccine rates for kids have declined in more than 3/4 of U.S. counties, all despite at least 16 robust population-based studies from different countries debunking any connection between vaccines and autism. But skeptics remain, as autism diagnoses have risen over time to 1 in every 31 children now. Experts say the increase is due in part to better screening and wider diagnosis of autism spectrum, not a change in biology.
We see a lot more cases of autism today because the diagnostic criteria have expanded. Their pediatricians are on the lookout for it.
But it hasn't stopped longtime vaccine critic and now Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The epidemic is real.
From stoking fears of a wave of autism.
Autism is increasing in prevalence at an alarming rate.
His own agency, the CDC, contradicting him just the next day, releasing a report highlighting how more kids are diagnosed earlier thanks to, quote, more evaluations and identification. But Kennedy is pushing ahead, announcing autism research efforts that are the subject of plenty of controversy, like a $50 million big data initiative, another study to look at the impact of vaccines, and an expected report looking at pregnant women taking Tylenol as a potential factor. There is no conclusive link. Instead, studies show that there are more risks for mom and baby when women have fevers during pregnancy. In a statement, an HHS spokesperson said, "We are using gold standard science to get to the bottom of America's unprecedented rise in autism rates. Until we release the final report, any claims about its contents are nothing more than speculation."
Unrelenting upward trend.
Secretary Kennedy also under fire for his remarks likening autism to a disease.
These are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball.
Many people with autism say they do contribute to society and insist it's part of their identity.
Hey, I'm so glad to meet you, Tori.
Likewise.
Like Tori Ridgway, now 22 years old, in college, studying aerospace engineering in Florida, a long way from his Maryland home. Did you ever think that you would get to this moment?
He just shows us every day the resilience that he has.
Tori has learned how to adapt his autism to his environment.
I think some of the best ways that autism helps me is I tunnel vision on one thing. We hyperfixate on something, and when we become really, really good at it and really knowledgeable about it, for me, that is aircraft, that is fighter jets. That's not to say I know everything about it, but I know a lot at this point, and I'm still learning a lot.
As the country learns more about autism and how to help those living with it thrive. So details of the report have been pretty much kept under wraps. However, we do anticipate it's going to look at environmental exposures. Now, I can break a little bit of news for you. We anticipate that report will be unveiled either September 29th or 30th. Mark your calendars for that. Now, families like the Ridgways, however, say that they're not really interested in learning more about the causes of autism spectrum disorder. Tori's mom, Vanessa, tells me her son and other kids with this kind of disability really just need services to help them thrive. Tom.
Eric Edwards, thank you. Very good reporting there. Still to come from us, 3 days before the start of fall. What do you think the song of the summer was? A lot of people seem to think there really wasn't one. And it's not for the reasons you may think. We're coming back. Or you can watch Hallie on Sunday on NBC Nightly News on the network. Meantime, the news continues right now on NBC News Now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.